Margery Williams Bianco was a British-American writer known for her children's book The Velveteen Rabbit. Born in London in 1881 as Margery Winifred Williams, the daughter of barrister Robert Williams and Florence Harper. Her father died when she was only 7, which affected her quite severely. In 1890 the family moved to the US. She was educated at the convent school in Sharon Hill, but returned to London in 1901 to be an author, publishing her first book, The Late Returning, in 1902. In 1904, she married Francesco Bianco, the pair having one daughter, Pamela Bianco, a noted child prodigy and illustrator, even working on some of her mother's books. In 1907, the family moved to Paris and then to Turin. Following the outbreak of World War I, Francesco joined the army. After the war, the family moved to the US, moving to Greenwich Village in 1921. In 1922, she published her most successful work, The Velveteen Rabbit, which would begin a career of some 20 years of writing children's books and books for young adults. She died in New York in 1944. In 1914, she published her only work of fantastic fiction not aimed at children, The Thing in the Woods, later reprinted under the pseudonym Harper Williams. 15 years ago, the narrator, a young doctor named Haverill, was making a tour of the wards at his hospital when his superior showed him a letter where a doctor from Pennsylvania named George Lennox wanted to find a substitute for 3 months. Haverill chooses to accept and arrives at the backwater where he is to spend his first vacation in several years, and is immediately dismissive of his new factotum Pete. He also notices Lennox, whom he knew at university, looks prematurely aged and stressed when he meets him. Then he suddenly asks Haverill if he has any nerve trouble and says he's leaving first thing in the morning, which to a genre-savvy person sounds rather alarming, but you know, if the protagonist was healthily suspicious, we wouldn't have a book. A week later, when the kerosene gives out, Haverill tries to send Pete to get more, but it being evening, he refuses to go on account of haunts or haunts, aka ghosts. He has to accompany Pete to the village to make him go in the first place. On the way back, a strange noise in the woods has Pete have a panic attack, and it takes Haverill all his might to steady the carriage. When reminiscing about the superstitious nonsense of his factotum, Haverill sees a strange light coming from the direction of the dam. The next day, he is called to see a Mr. Lessing, just by the dam, a person whom the people around the district don't like at all and avoid at all costs. When Haverill arrives, Lessing is quite irate that Lennox bolted and left Haverill in his place. As for why he called, Lessing seems extremely cut up by what you could call a dog, he says. His sister then admits Lessing has not slept for many days, and shows Haverill her brother's laboratory, an odd sort of wooden building with a searchlight on top. Some days later, Haverill is told that Lessing is infamous for messing with things no one should mess with, which is why no one will go near his house after nightfall. He was also seen in the forest the night a man got killed, which doesn't help his reputation. Then Haverill becomes aware of a cyclist having died by having his face horribly mangled by some clawed creature, and the same thing happened last April when another man died the same way 12 miles away. Then Lessing tells him he had already been attacked by what both know was not a dog 3 times. The rest of the book is focused on Haverill trying to play catch-up with the beast, always coming just a second late to see anything. Overall, it is one of those supernatural stories, the ones which seem deathly worried about ever uttering any actual concrete statement about the supernatural existing. So the werewolf is never really seen by anyone, and the W word is not even used once throughout the book.